Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. I'm Lucas and welcome back to another Psgl F1 Esports Invitational League Race, Social Race, whatever you want to call it, video. Second one I'm doing on this channel, on this channel, and also the second league race we are doing on F1 2021. And as you can now actually see on the right hand side, the grid we have in this race is stacked with many esports drivers, many of the people that we race with in the usual pro series. So yeah, obviously last week we had our first league race on the game around Spain in Psgl, and we managed to get pole position and win on our first race, which was a complete dream to achieve something like that just straight off the bat. And yeah, as you can now, as I just shown as well, I'm using just the default time trial setup. I didn't really focus way too much on trying to get a custom setup at this point because I never felt like I would be able to improve massively. So I wanted just to focus on maximising my driving and using a balance that I'd practiced quite a bit with in the time trial lap. So here we are, starting our first qualifying lap, and we had a pretty terrible first corner, to be completely honest. Massive oversteer the front tyres as I pull up the MFD. The front tyres weren't warm enough, I never really got enough temperature, so yeah, we lost quite a bit of time, probably around a tenth of a second at least in the first corner, which then means you just suffer all the way through the first sector as well, which isn't great. But then heading into the Lecombe chicane, braking late as we can, but not committing full confidence, and didn't really get a lot of curb. This is our first qualifying lap of the session, so we never really managed to commit hard on the curb. We didn't really get the maximum out of that session. Now, we have a bit of work to do to make anything good of this lap, because we only get 3 runs to make our lap count. And yeah, so heading down to Puon, using this pretty, well, I mean, I don't know if I want to say controversial line, but using a line of sorts, and getting a snap of oversteer as well through Puon, which did not help us at all, because all we're doing is just killing momentum. And the curbs on this track, for those of you who don't know, are just complete. I mean, the three magic letters are RNG. They are so, to be completely honest, they're really bad for consistency. It's so tricky. You can hear my frustration. I'm not happy at the moment because I just seen the sector splits. From practice, I knew I had decent pace and I knew I had a good chance of hopefully at least fighting near the front. I had no idea like if it would be enough a pole, but my intention was to be up there near the front end of the pack. So I was already quite disappointed with this lap, as because the line we're now going to do a .973, 2/10 away from Freddy's lap, which is where there or thereabouts where we were in practice on the sort of first runs, where we were doing sort of like 0.6, 0.7s, then 5s, then 4s and stuff like that going through the session. So to start on a .9 was massively disappointing, but here we are again, now for the second run. Now, we know we need to improve turn 1, so we focus quite a lot on that. But we never really fully get to the apex, but we managed just to get a smooth exit, but we do start to gain a little bit towards the end. So we are, I believe, nearly 900s up on this lap, so automatically a bit of a better improvement. So we've got one part of the lap improved, but now we really need to work on improving the rest, because Freddy's on a .7 after his first run, and the times will probably start to improve around 1-2 from that point onwards. So we can't just beat our own lap that was already there. We need to, you know, keep making advancement. A bit better through there, I think. We got a better exit out of that section, so that was positive. Third gear through here, fourth gear short shifting, a bit of a snap of oversteer, so struggling to get the car settled. Never really managed to carry a 100% perfect exit, but nevertheless, flagging it into Puon, and a bit smoother on the exit. The delta starting to increase a bit because we never had that loss of traction, and then through this section, which is formidably difficult to mount the curbs and get away with. And we were quite uptight, we were quite tense going through this section. This corner here was really poor. We had a really bad exit and we never managed to...
Oh, damn it, I got such a bad exit.
As you can hear, I'm not happy with the exit because we were quite cautious on that. We got too much inside curb and I didn't want to over exceed on the throttle to then, well, basically just lose the car and then lose even more time. And as you can see, Freddy on a .5 now, which is sort of where you want to be at this point in the session. And we are only 2/10 up on a 9. So, struggling in the final chicane, not really extracting anything, only 2/10 improvement, and that puts us P2, but only nearly 2/10 away from Frederick. So, at this point in the session, yep, as I said there, really disappointed in myself, wasn't happy, but I know deep down that I have enough for pole position. All I need to do is extract it, which is an incredibly difficult thing to do. But here we are. This lap is all or nothing. Final run in qualifying. Heavy braking into turn 1. Do we make it to the apex? A bit better this time, and we do gain a bit on exit, so we have made a marginal improvement, which should be good enough to set us up for a good lap. This lap is really important for us in this sort of qualifying, because if we don't improve on a 7, then we're going to be probably quite far down the order, and chance of victory will be quite tricky to even fight for on that in the first place from that. So now heading down to Lacombe, very important for us to improve in here. Braking really late, getting a nice smooth transition through here, using a lot of curb. Upshift to 5th, short shift to 6th, nice clean run through there, so that was a lot better, using a bit of curb on the entry. Now we actually dropped to 2nd, we go a little bit too early into the apex, probably into that corner, but what we do really well here is get a fantastic exit through this section. The track obviously ramping up a little bit for the final run. I believe we're just about over our 10th up, nice and clean through Puron, not really worrying too much of track limits. I think we're 0.13 up on the delta now, so yes, heading down into one of the scariest parts of the track for RNG. Nice early apex, using the curb to take the car all the way out to the exit, and now this is where we need to make a major improvement because we were a bit cautious in the last lap, and pinning the throttle, bit of oversteer on the exit, and we are purple in the middle sector. So we are on a very good lap at this point in the session, and at this point I know the part rate starts to fly up, because I know that if I nail this last chicane, there is a chance of pole position, at least on the lap times that currently stand. So pressure's high, coming into the braking zone, braking as late as I sort of can, using the curb to overtake the car, keeping it in 3rd gear, nice and smooth over the curb, getting the power down, nice and smooth, DRS open and heading to the line, and there we go! Let's get it, come on!
Good shit.
And you can hear how much that meant after that lap. That was so much adrenaline, and now here comes the man himself, Frederick Rasmussen. Just, I mean, the man needs no introduction. He is so fast. There's not what else to say. The guy's so quick. And then coming through the last chicane, seeing if he's going to improve. We don't want to be premature at any celebration, but he doesn't improve.
Come on.
He does not improve his lap.
Don't do me like this.
And you can hear how much the panic is. But as the session comes to a close,
Yes! Let's go!
come on, guys! Ah! Oh, it's so good. Come on. Oh, right. Still got a race to do, but that felt good.
For you this year, innit?
And there we go. We managed to put it on pole position for the second race now in Psgl. That lap felt really good. We can't really make way too many complaints. We were only a 10th off of our PB around here, so that was pretty. That was a pretty good effort to pull out. We managed to improve 3/10ths on our previous run, so. Yeah, we done one of the hardest parts of this sort of this league race, if you like, getting the car on pole position. And now, as I think you heard me say as well, we've now got a race to do. The focus now switches, getting the tyres warmed up, trying to make sure that we're ready for the start. And it's going to be quite tricky to hold position, actually, because heading down to Lacombe after Eau Rouge and Radion, it's quite easy to be slipstreamed past. So. Yeah, it's going to be tricky, but we are in the best possible place to kick off this race from. So we've done one part of the job, now it's time to get on with the next part. And you can actually hear me conversating with my teammate Shiraka as well. We were in the voice chat so that we made sure we were communicating clearly in the race to make sure we could get the best possible outcome to, you know, not put in the same lap and then have a disaster. But yeah, you'll hear that in the background as we go on. 5 red lights start to light up on your screens in front of us. The pressure's mounting, the lights are out. Getting a nice smooth release, short shift to 2nd, and we close the line on Freddie. Nice clean getaway, that's what we like to see. Freddie going a bit wider, and we have Jakey B, who was sort of I think Gio Morgan, who was commentating on this race in Psgl, called the All-Star. And he was really on form in this race, as I think you'll see as it goes on, up in P3, getting up on the inside of Freddie into T1, and we are blasting the ERS all the way down right now because we want to keep position. We've kept the lead all the way up to this point in the lap, braking later than Freddie. We have the inside line, bit of correction on the steering, but nothing we can't handle, and that is us safely into the lead on lap 1 of this race. We're going to be on board for the entirety of this lap. Now the focus at this point is just to get nice and smoothly into a rhythm. It's actually very easy if you over push the tyres and scrub them a lot and, you know, scrape the surface and heat the tyres up, you can very easily send them over an edge on temperatures, and then you just suffer for corner after corner. So the focus for us is just to keep controlled, managed, and execute the race lap by lap, corner by corner. And you can already see I didn't even want to take that curb there. We never got the apex in, so if you take the curb just a tiny bit, like we would have if we actually took the curb there, we would have struggled. But as you can see, Freddie's actually now nearly 8 tenths behind. He had a bit of a slip on a curb, so you're going to see a lot of mistakes, a lot of slipping and sliding around the place in this race, because it's not even like you can control every single slide. Like sometimes you will get a slide and there's nothing you can do to control it or to influence it or to stop it. You've just got to try and roll with the punches and try and be as calculated as you can. It is a very, as we say, an RNG track at the moment. So it's very tricky to manage, but heading on to lap 2 now, we have got the lead. Now, we're just trying to, it's very tricky to manage. We're trying to keep the ERS stock quite high. We don't want to be completely defenceless, because when you use it to defend here, you use a lot of it. And yeah, coming on to lap 2 now, the gap is around half a second, I believe, to the car behind. Yep, setting the fastest lap. Freddie immediately eclipsing that. Shanaka as well, our teammate, then taking it. So as we can see, it's a bit of a train at the moment, but getting a decent exit out of turn 1. But what you're about to see, I believe, is how quickly this can change with the gap. So Freddie 0.55 behind us before we head up Eau Rouge and Radion, heading onto the Kemmel Straight now. No, not DRS now just being activated, so this is going to be one of the key features of the race, and we haven't touched our overtake, and look how much he gains on us. He's now nearly at 1/10 of a second, so this DRS effect is critical in this race. It's going to influence a lot of battles, and it's going to be important for us to have this in our mind. But look in the background, Freddie going wide in JKB. We get a huge snap of oversteer using those curbs as we talk about. It's very hard to influence, but JKB up to second place. I think Freddie got a bit of a snap on one of the curbs, so the curbs are lethal. I mean, you can take the same line every single lap and it can spit you off one or the other. We're using so much ERS because we have to watch, because JKB and Freddie are both blasting their ERS with the DRS open, trying to get the best of each other, so we had to counter that and anticipate it. So yeah, lap 4, the softs are very fragile as well, which is quite tricky to manage. Heading on to lap 6 now, because we're just trying to manage the gap. We've got a decent gap on Jake Benham behind us, 7/10 of a second, but as you can now look to the top left of your screen, Frederick Rasmussen and Barry Bowerman into the pit lane on lap 6 to try and initiate an undercut on the cars ahead, which is Jake and myself, I believe. So now we're heading into the pits on lap 7, an immediate retaliation, because we did the exact same thing in Spain actually. We had Nico behind us pit the lap before. We immediately respond, because that is kind of one of the safest and smartest things to do if you're in our position. You don't want to overextend, have a tyre advantage, and then end up in a big train of cars, and things can get messy very quickly. It can all fall away very quickly. We didn't get any traffic in the pit lane, thankfully. Just trying to focus on getting a clean exit from the pit lane. And here is Frederick Rasmussen behind us. He is now within DRS, and we are blasting the ERS immediately. We want to keep this position. It was quite, to be honest, at this point in the race, I was amazed that we managed to actually even stay in the lead, because I was expecting the undercut to be very powerful. So but then we've got Freddie and Sparry behind us now, and we managed to keep the lead after the stop, and we are now got 1 lap fresher tyres than both of the cars behind, which should hopefully play into our favour later into the race. The fastest lap's been set by the cars behind now. As you can see now, we have Nicholas Longue, the Alpine Esports driver, right in front of us. He was going long on the medium strategy. I think he had a few problems in this race, which is a shame, because it was good fun fighting with him in the last race. Incredibly fast driver, as is literally everyone in this field. They're all incredibly quick. But at this point in the race, we have Freddie Rasmussen as well, got a penalty behind, but Nico does not put up a fight with us. We have to get this position, because now that we're past Nico, we are ahead of him. He's now going to hold up the cars behind on much older medium tyres, and this, most importantly for the race, gives us an opportunity to break away from DRS from the cars behind, which is game changing when we have 1 lap fresher tyres. It allows us to try and take control, manage our ERS, manage how much risk we take, which is sort of what I want to try and do in this race when and where I can. And look, we have now broken DRS to Frederick Rasmussen behind us. Nico holding them up in the middle sector with the older medium tyres, working a treat for us, and also Freddie now having the penalty. We set the fastest lap of the race, which is all starting to fall into a little bit more place for us now. So far so good at this point in the race. Heading on to lap 10 now, and as you can now look top left, Speed Barry taking the place over Frederick Rasmussen. And skipping on to lap 12 now, we have had a slight extension on the gap to Barry, and when if I'm going to say one thing, it is so difficult, even on a lap fresher tyres, just to even eke away from these guys. These guys in this league don't let you breathe. I mean, I had a message from someone after, during the race, or even after the race, I believe it was, that said sometimes it looks in control, but the thing is, it's never in control. You certainly don't feel like it, because you constantly have to give, conscious effort to see if you need to increase the pace, if you need to manage the pace. But anyway, getting a bit sidetracked anyway, we get past Domenico Lavecchi in P5. Thankfully, doesn't re-overtake us, playing an intelligent game, so big respect to him. He was definitely thinking of his own race as well there, which was massively thankful for us and himself as well. So massively, a bit lucky as well that we haven't had to fight as many people there. But anyway, getting back to the action at hand. Jake Benham right behind, well, now the car behind us. He actually caught us a little bit as well, so we had to just sort of up our ante a little bit. You didn't have to re-engage, but we just needed to sort of remind them that we had a bit more pace in hand that we could unleash, and I believe JKB was pushing incredibly hard, whereas we were trying to manage it a little bit. But Jake Benham done an insanely good job in this race. Full credit to this guy. Honestly, he's 15 years of age and shown why age doesn't matter anything towards talent. So full credit to him. He's definitely a guy to watch in the future. I've got nothing but praise for this guy. So honestly, big respect to Jake. Now, he also has a penalty as well, so we had to keep that in mind. He made a mistake in the chicane. I think maybe starting to push his tyres a little bit towards the edge. We're just now going into Les Combes, and Frederick Rasmussen and Barry both get Jake, and actually on the stream Freddie done an incredibly good double overtake round the outside of the Les Combes chicane, which you guys can probably see on the social media channels on PSGL for sure. So yeah, Freddie now into P2, but what this actually allowed us to do, chat, was pull a huge gap. The gap now on lap 19 of 22 is 3.6 seconds. I remember watching parts of the stream back and seeing that these guys had flashing ERS. They were struggling, and we actually get our second one in the race, so we have to keep ourselves on our toes. But these guys were using so much ERS fighting each other, and this just allows us to manage methodically, not take any more risks. 3.4 seconds is a big gap if we want to make it work, which is exactly what we want to do. Now, if you to look up the top left, we have Barry, Freddie and Danny Moreno. They all have time penalties now. Danny Moreno up to P3, and is he going to get P2? Yes, he is. So Danny Moreno up to P2, and I believe 2 lap fresher mediums in the cars, or at least me, I don't know, probably 3 lap fresher than Barry as well. So yeah, that definitely helped him towards the end of the race, so great drive from Danny as well. Barry holding on with older tyres as well. I don't know what happened to Freddie, but Freddie sadly dropped out the race, which is a huge shame because he was, doing some insane defending, insane attacking, so it's not always great when you see a car not finish. But anyway, sorry, going on to the last lap of the race, we have a 3.7 second gap to the cars behind. We have Danny Moreno and Barry Berman in P2 and P3 respectively. Tomek, I don't know, I'm going to pronounce it wrong, I'm sorry, so I'm going to skip the surname, but we have Tomek and Jarno and P4 and 5 on the alternate strategies. Now, they didn't really get that cleaner run in this race. They had a lot more traffic to negotiate, which really hindered their strategies and allowed us to try and execute our own race. So we have 3.3 seconds to the cars behind. We have managed everything in this race. We had a lot sort of thrown at us in terms of gaps getting closed down, and we had a lot to try and negotiate, but we have just tried to play our cards correctly, and ultimately everything is paid off. We now just have a few more a few new corners to negotiate to try and seal off what would be, if we win this race, our second race win in a row from pole position here in the PSGL F1 Esports Invitational, heading round to start the final sector now. Only one more chicane to negotiate after Blanchimont, I believe is the corner name that we're heading up to now. We have almost unbelievably managed to get what was a really emotionally charged pole position, which completely changed the outlook of the race for us. Qualified set it all up for us, which just shows the importance of every little moment in this league. Rounding the final chicane, and I'm going to be quiet because here we go again. Yes! Ah. I don't know what to say. Speechless, guys. Absolutely speechless after that race. We managed to win for the second time in a row in F1 Esports Invitational Psgl. Honestly, it was completely... I mean, the emotions in this race after the race was totally different than the time before. I was just totally speechless. Couldn't believe that, you know, it had happened again. I mean, to win once felt like a complete dream after such a long time away from league racing, but to do it again from pole position and pull out another great performance felt too good to be true. As ultimately, at the end of the day, these are just social races, so they don't exactly count towards, you know, any championship standing or anything, but to get underway on this game and to get a feeling and to build some confidence like this is a complete dream. So here's the final order. We have myself in P1, which was just a total dream. Danny Moreno, Barry, Opmir, Tomic, our teammate Shinaka in P6, full credit to him, he done a great job, I think with a bit of damage as well. Tunitsa P7, JKB who did an incredible job, Domenico Lovecchi, and did also running out the top 10. But guys, thank you so much for watching this video, thank you so much for the support after this race, it was absolutely mind blowing, and I hope to catch you guys in a future video. Take care.